A show created by the fans, for the fans. We are your home for Ohio State football coverage all year long. The Scarlet and Gray Podcast, a Network 216 production. Live weekdays on the Network 216 YouTube channel. Send us all your questions and comments on Twitter at VSG_podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Tyler Johnson, Jordan Dalton, and Nick Leisure.
Hello, Buckeye Nation. Welcome to today's episode of the Scarlet and Gray Podcast. I am Tyler Johnson, joined tonight by Mr. Nick Leisure. My friend, how are you doing this evening?
Fantastic.
I'm glad to hear that.
Hope everyone has a happy new year and we can bring it in the right way.
Absolutely. And first off, not only that, hope everyone had a good – man, my chair is off balance for some reason, so apologize for that. But anyway, hope everyone had a Merry Christmas, got some awesome gifts, great new Ohio State gear. I know I was loaded up with Ohio State gear, which is good because I've been needing some new stuff. But also, kind of like Nick said, everyone have a happy new year. Also, stay safe as well. You just time of year, it gets a little crazy, so everyone just stay safe. But there's plenty to talk about tonight, of course, because the Buckeyes got a game on New Year's Day. Rematch against the Oregon Ducks. We're going to break it all down. Before we do, guys, as a reminder, take a quick second if you would. Just drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you are brand new to the channel. First off, thank you guys so much for 2024. You guys have doubled the growth of the show, even in some cases tripled it, especially on the audio side of things. So first off, thank you all so much for your support. Let's make 2025 even better. Again, this show, we don't get the numbers we do without all of your support. So we really do appreciate everything that you guys do for the show. And anytime you want to share the word, please do help the show grow even more. But thank you guys so much for that support. All right, my man, it's the rematch. There are not a lot of times in college football that you get. I kind of talked about it. I put out a post earlier about Will Howard. There aren't many times in college football where you get to play a team twice in one season, and Ohio State gets that opportunity on New Year's Day. First off, when you originally saw that we were going to play Oregon again, how'd you feel about that? Were you excited? Were you a little bit nervous? How'd you, just knowing that you go from playing Tennessee and you immediately match up against the 1 seed in the next round? How'd you feel about that impending matchup?
I'm kind of bummed out that this isn't like a semifinal matchup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like these are out of the teams left, arguably these are the two best teams left in this whole thing. So, yeah, kind of a bummer that this isn't a semifinal matchup with winner going to the national championship. But, I mean, it is what it is. You know, you just got to show up and play. And I am glad that we get another shot at Oregon, though, because that loss kind of stung. Had some chances. I felt like I know we'll get into it more, but I just felt like the Buckeyes dominated that whole game. And then just down into the fourth quarter, had some mishaps, a couple missed field goals. That's all she wrote. So, you know, it is what it is. But I'm excited for a rematch, and I think it's going to be a great game. And, yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah, man, I kind of feel the same way. Now, like I said, I think all the right teams made the play. We kind of talked about that ad nauseum. I think all the right teams were selected for the playoff, but the way that they did this, I don't know, because I feel like they know deep down. Maybe they don't. If they truly don't, then they don't. I feel like deep down they know. Ohio State and Oregon are the two best teams in college football. Why would we want to see that in a quarterfinal matchup? Like, that's the thing, I guess. I don't really know why the committee was doing it that way, but it is what it is. That's who you got, and you know what? I'm sure they're going to be ready for it. But I'll admit, when I first saw it, I was like, well, dude. Right. Like, if you beat Oregon, I'm not saying you're going to win the whole thing, but you're probably playing your toughest competition.
Really good chance.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting, dude. And again, the committee got it right. They put all the right teams in. You could I think the seeding is the biggest complaint a lot of people have, and that's pretty much what I would say moving forward. It's just hopefully they get the seeding right, because I do feel like a team like Ohio State, now, again, we weren't a conference champion or anything like that, but I also feel like if you want to see the best possible matchups, at least to get to the title game, that they'll end up looking at that more moving forward. But anyway, the Buckeyes arrived in Pasadena. I believe it was on Sunday, so they're going to have plenty of time to get acclimated to California. There have already been some players talking. Have you had an opportunity to catch up on what Will Howard said, or not yet?
I've been completely out of the loop, to be honest with you.
Okay, no, it's fine. That's fine. So Will Howard actually spoke yesterday, and he said a couple things. First off, he said, "I don't think anyone has beat us this year. I think we beat ourselves." Thought that was kind of an interesting quote. The other one that he said was basically that from the Rose Bowl, Peter Thamel from ESPN posted this. He said, "We played against Tennessee. We played pissed off. We played angry, and you could see it. And I think when we play like that, we're hard to beat, and we have to keep that same mentality." And I think that's really what the difference was. That anger, that pissed off, that chip on his shoulder that we played with, and that's going to be crucial in this game against Oregon. And the final thing basically that he said was, "This is a business trip. We're not here to sightsee. We're here to win a football game." Just kind of the thoughts from Will Howard there. Do you kind of agree that Ohio State really hasn't lost this year? It's really been them just beating themselves. What do you think about that particular comment?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. The two losses for the year, 1 point loss from Oregon, and obviously the loss against the team up north. And both situations, just lack of execution when it mattered the most. So I agree with that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Oregon is a really tough football team. Michigan's defense is really tough, and that limited Ohio State's ability to move the football and make plays. So it's tough. The Michigan game stands out to me just because I feel like that was just a dogfight always. So it's always just a toss-up. But the Oregon game, I definitely agree that we kind of beat ourselves there. Mm-hmm. I mean, the pass interference, whether you like it or not, Jeremiah Smith did kind of push off, late in that game, which would have put us into field goal range to win the game. They call it, you're backed up. Will Howard makes a play, doesn't get down with enough time left, no timeout left. I mean, you had a timeout left, you couldn't use it because the time ran out, so ball game over. So, yeah, I mean, I like the mentality that they have, though. Will Howard's just kind of had that mentality all season long, just that they're there to win, and that's all it comes down to. They're not worried about anything else except beating Oregon on Wednesday night.
Yeah. And again, I like the fact that with Will Howard, man, he's just a guy that you can tell when he talks, he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And I like that, dude. I know some people wish, and this is just some, not everybody, wish that players would kind of just go along with things, not really say a whole lot. I kind of like it personally. I think you need to come, especially when you get to the playoff, come in with a chip on your shoulder, man. You're playing with house money. Like this is it. I mean, this is potentially your last college football game or your career. So I like to see that personally. And so I do agree that they've beaten themselves. But I will say when it comes to Michigan, man, it's kind of, I know he had 2 turnovers in that game, but it's like, dude, it's still hard to argue because it just feels like we can't get over the hump against them. They have your number. And so I don't know if we really beat ourselves in that regard. Unless you're referring to the coaching staff, because I do think the coaching staff in that game looks just completely night and day. Oregon, we did beat ourselves. And you mentioned the pass interference call by Jeremiah Smith. To this day, I still believe that wasn't, but it got called. You move on. Got called, you move on. Will Howard, I still believe he slid with a second left. Would it have mattered if Jaden Fielding misses the field goal? Still wouldn't matter. So. Yeah, I do. I partially agree with them. I do. We'll see. We'll see there. And Jeremiah Smith, of course.
Oh, I saw this.
You did? Okay, yeah.
I saw JJ, yeah.
Yeah, I actually, funny enough, my stepfather just sent me the quote during the show, right. So that's funny. So what are your thoughts, man? I'll briefly cover it for those who have not yet heard it. He said, "I'm just letting everyone know right now that if you play man coverage Wednesday, we're taking a shot." And Jeremiah Smith vows to play angry on Wednesday and basically warns Oregon against playing man. What are your thoughts on that? First off, I'll just say, since it was sent to me, my stepfather said that why talk like that against a team that you lost to? Fair comment. Fair.
What are
your thoughts on it?
I mean, I love the mentality. Okay. I mean, we've played the last the last 4 times that we've played Oregon. I think I saw like in the postseason, Ohio State's won 3 of them, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
I like the mentality from JJ coming in, saying, you know what, if you want to challenge us in one-on-one coverage, we got the guys to beat it. And you know what, if I'm Oregon, I think you got to come out and you got to run some man early to see if they're effective. I mean, if they're effective, they can guard it one-on-one, then they're going to. That way, that just frees up pass rush. But I don't know. I like it. I think his play is really what does the talking for him typically. I feel like we haven't gotten comments from Jeremiah like this in the past. So I'm glad that everyone's kind of getting that mentality of we're going to come out, we're going to punch you in the mouth, we're going to be pissed off every time we step on the field from here on out, which is how it has to be when you make these playoff runs, right? So it's like, I love it. I think his play does his talking anyway. Mm-hmm. But if he can, add a little fuel, he's always. I mean, I love that. But just from a fan's point of view, you like your players to come out and be confident like that. Even though we lost to them earlier in the year by 1 point, it's like that doesn't mean to me that you can't talk a little trash before the game. Yeah, you just got to back it up on Wednesday.
Exactly. And I believe he'll do just that. But
me too.
Dude, I agree with you, man. Like, I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, us agreeing on everything, because funny enough, we normally don't. But it's like the thing Ohio State has missed in the past is swagger. It's having confidence. And I feel like he's only a true freshman, which again, just is mind blowing, especially when you watch him play. Dude, I want my stars to have this confidence. I don't want to back down. And I understand, like, there's a good portion of the fan base out there. And like I said, I read to you what my stepfather said, like, that just doesn't believe you do that, especially against a team you lost to. But, dude, I'll say this. Don't back down. You need the mentality that you're going to come out and beat these guys. This is your redemption time. You have one time that you're going to play them twice in the season. It might happen again in the future. We don't know. This doesn't come around very often. You have an amazing opportunity in front of you to get revenge on a team that beat you, that essentially took you out of the Big Ten title game. That's what they did. They kept you from a Big Ten championship. And that's another way I look at this too, is to get that revenge. And I love seeing it from Jeremiah. I really do. I love the confidence coming from a true freshman. And then couple things that we got just from some of the players talking, some of the press conferences the coaches gave, and then we'll kind of just break in keys of the game, predictions, and wrap it up. First off, says Will Kazmarek will return to Ohio State for 2025. I thought that was kind of interesting. A lot of Buckeye fans are wondering about Jelani Thurman if he returns. This is all I'll say. Ohio State uses a lot of tight ends.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at Jelani as that second guy behind Max Clare, who we will cover transfers. I promise. I know we were off for the holidays, guys. We'll cover transfers and who Ohio State got, because honestly, we missed 4 of them. So we'll get to that. But what do you think, man? Do you think this has anything to do with Jelani? I personally think I don't think it says one way or another about Jelani Thurman. Will Kazmarek is normally the blocker anyway.
Right.
And I just think that's going to be his role. I mean, what are your thoughts real quick on that?
I'm not really trying to overthink things right now. So it is what it is. I think what the thing is with Kazmarek, I think he saw the writing on the wall that he's not going to get drafted this year.
Yeah.
So it's like you might as well go, come back, play another season, get another year on tape, maybe be more involved next year with GSOT graduating at the end of the year. You got a couple guys coming in. I mean, obviously Jelani's still here. So, but the tight end position, like you hit it on, we run a lot of 2 tight end sets. So it's like these guys are going to see the field. So I don't think it's a reflection on what Jelani's doing. If I had to guess, I'm sure he'll be back, because they're probably going to think of Jelani, I hope, as the guy to be the downfield threat to kind of stretch the defense at the tight end position.
Yeah. I mean, if you have Jelani Thurman and Max Clare for 2 tight ends, good luck. Because I'll tell you what, Buckeye fans, Max Clare, I know you might not have seen him play a lot. He's going to be one of the best tight ends in the country next year. He's that good of a player. Ohio kid. You put him and Julian Thurman out there, doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. That's just more weapons, and it was just going to be really fun to watch. So we'll see what happens there. I do agree. It makes sense that he comes back. He's going to be the blocker. He might, maybe if there's an injury, he'll have a little bit of a bigger role, but doesn't really bother me either way. Then one other piece of news, and then just an interesting comment from Jim Knowles. So Lincoln Kienholz, it sounds like he told 11 Warriors today that he is unsure at this time if he is going to be entering the transfer portal or staying with Ohio State for the 2025 season. He did elaborate to the Columbus Dispatch. It sounds like he will be staying through the winter transfer portal and competing for the starting job. So tell me what you think. Personally, I took away from that. He's going to battle for the starting job. If he doesn't get it, he very well might transfer. I don't know, but we'll see what happens there. I think you got to find a way to keep Lincoln, because even if Julian wins that job, I don't know personally if I want that backup to be Tavian St. Clair, a guy who's a true freshman behind a sophomore.
Right.
I don't know, man. I like that. That makes me a little nervous. You know, you're losing Devin Brown, you're losing Will Howard already. But yeah, what are your thoughts on what Lincoln had to say today?
I mean, I hope Lincoln sticks around too. He's been in the program the longest out of the guys that are going to be coming back. So he's got the most experience. Not a lot of it, but he played against Missouri last year. You know, I think he's too gifted of an athlete to kind of let that kind of kid walk. So because let's be honest, Julian Sand's really not going to be a big running threat at the quarterback position next season if he ends up winning the starting job. And I think I wouldn't be shocked if we have a couple packages where we bring Lincoln in to kind of run the ball, keep the defense honest, because I think he's got that type of ability. So I hope he sticks around. I know we've talked offline that we felt like he might leave, but at the end of it, we really feel like he wants to be a Buckeye, and he wanted to come all the way out here for no reason. So, especially with Aaron Nolan leaving, if Nolan was going to stick around, I feel like Kienholz probably would have hit the portal. But since Nolan left, and it's just going to be Julian, Lincoln, and Tavian as of right now, the position's definitely wide open next season. So I don't blame him for wanting to stick around and fight that out.
Yeah, and I'm still under the impression, I'm not saying starter, I still believe you have to go get a portal guy, at least another guy who's at least got some experience. Because again, Lincoln leaves, then you're kind of in the mud there. I mean, Mason Maggs would be your third string guy. He was getting reps at running back as a fifth stringer last year. So like, I'm not too thrilled about that, but again, we'll see what happens there. But I agree. I mean, Lincoln should stay. He does have an opportunity. I'm not saying he's going to win the job, but like you said, he's got the most experience. He is athletic, and we know Chip Kelly kind of likes that, especially in his system. So we'll see what happens with Lincoln Kienholz. And then just this final quote here from Jim Knowles, and then like I said, we'll go ahead and just wrap it up as far as giving keys of the game and then game predictions. So Jim Knowles basically came out and said something I thought was kind of interesting, but it would kind of talk about how we've seen him use the second half of the season. He mentioned Jeremiah Matthews, and he said that Jeremiah Matthews, Ohio State considers him as a starter, similar to how they
Jermaine Matthews?
Jermaine Matthews, yeah.
Oh, Jermaine, yeah.
Yeah, Jermaine, my bad. Yeah, Jermaine Matthews a starter, similar to how they viewed Cody Simon as a starter last year. What do you think about that? Do you? I mean, we talked about it. I always thought he should be getting more playing time this year. I stand by that, and it finally looks like they're starting to do that. But knowing it sounds like he's going to play a big role against Oregon. How do you feel about that?
What that says to me is that they don't have a lot of confidence in Denzel Burke, right? I mean, Igbinosun played really well against Tennessee. I think it was the first game all year. He didn't have a freaking pass interference call against him. So, I mean, if Igbinosun can play that clean against Oregon, that's obviously a game breaker. But, I mean, Jermaine's been really good down the stretch lately. I mean, I feel like he was on the field a lot against Tennessee. I want to say I saw him out there more than Denzel, but to be fair, Tennessee really couldn't get the passing game going anyway. So it's hard to really tell who was really out there making a difference. But Yeah, I mean, I like Jermaine Matthews. We've talked about it as well. It's like you got to find a way to kind of keep him around because he was antsy last year at the end of the season. And we all thought it was a possibility he might leave after last year. So
Froze there for a second. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you now.
All right. Yeah. So apologize, guys. Had a little technical difficulty there. Apologize for that. But yeah, man, it definitely shows a lack of confidence in Denzel Burke. I think we're going to see Jermaine a lot more. I'm also don't expect Denzel to be matched up on Evan Stewart very much in this game. Because one thing's for certain with some of these college corners, once a guy torches you, if you have to see him again, they're confident. It's harder at the college level, man, as far as the confidence level. So I'm looking to see a lot more of Jermaine Matthews in this game. He's played very well with the time he's gotten. Basically, when it comes to the game plan for this game, how do you see it differing from the first matchup?
It's hard to say because I feel like the game plan was working in the first time we met. I just feel like the main thing is you just got to get pressure on Dylan Gabriel, which is something that we didn't do in the first matchup. And I thought we did a really good job against Tennessee. A lot of the time we were only rushing 4 guys and we were getting home. So I feel like your NFL defensive ends have to play like their NFL defensive ends. JTT and Jack Sawyer really have to show up big in this game in order to make the impact they need to. And I just feel like in the 2 losses that we've had, those guys have not shown up. So I really think it's going to come down to that defensive front, getting pressure on Dylan Gabriel. And I also think we're going to see rotation at the D-line like we did against Tennessee as well. Keep those guys fresh. If JT and Jack have to take a series off, that's fine. Like, it's okay. We have enough depth at the position that we're able to take one or both of them out, and it's not a big deal. So I just think, you just got to get pressure with 4 instead of having to worry about trying to bring blitzes. Mm-hmm. That way you have as many guys in coverage as you can because – and, I think I'd imagine they're going to have a spy on Gabriel like part of the time just because he is dangerous with his feet. And I think Sonny Styles is up to that challenge as well. So I think – it's going to be a tough matchup, obviously, but I think the defense really showed last week that they can hang with anybody.
Yeah. I'm going to add on to your point because I do believe you need to get pressure with your front 4. But what I need to see in this game personally, I need to see the Jim Knowles that I saw against Tennessee. I need to see blitzes. I need to see stunts. I mean, you have to get pressure on – get it on Dylan Gabriel, okay? Don't do what we did in the first meeting and rush 4 every time and just let him sit back in the pocket and just pick you apart all day long. You get after him, he's going to struggle. He is. He can make plays with his feet. We know that. But he also he's got smaller dimensions at the quarterback position, okay? You can get in his throwing lanes a lot easier, especially when you start sending blitzes at him. He can also diagnose him quick. But you know what? If they're beating us on quick slants, then they're beating us on quick slants. I'm going to trust our corners against the receivers. Except Denzel Burke for the most part. But, dude, like, you got to get pressure on Dylan Gabriel first off. So I think that's the big thing I'm really watching from the defensive side of the ball. Get pressure on Dylan Gabriel. If you do, I think you're going to be just fine in this game. I really do because I'm not really worried about the defense a lot. I'm really not. But getting pressure. And like you said, I need rotation too. Kenyatta Jackson's got to play in this game. Kenyatta Jackson's actually been really good for the Buckeyes when he's gotten time on the field, and he needs to be getting more time. Caden Curry also has been making an impact. So I need to see it on the defensive side of the ball, and then I'll pass it over to you in a second. But for me on the offensive side, man, I'm not worried about Will Howard. I'm not. Now, you might be a little amped up to start. He is. I mean, he was against Tennessee that first throw, and then he was completely dialed in the rest of the game. So that'll be interesting to see if he can come out and just calm. He gets a little amped up, but you know what? I kind of like to see it from my QB. The big thing, though, I think we might be able to agree on this one. We probably will, actually. The run game, you have to have a play in the run game that's going to succeed, because we saw it the first time. As soon as Josh Simmons went down, the run game was non-existent from there. And I think in this game, you're going to have to be effective in the run game, and you're going to have to find ways, if this is having Will Kazmarek on the field as an extra blocker, or G. Scott blocking more to line them, or whatever you got to do. Jordan Birch will be playing in this game for Oregon. Mateo Ugiongole will be playing in this game for Oregon. They are a very good duo on the outside. Ohio State's got to be ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, just wherever 4 is at, get him the dang ball. Right? I mean, I think you gotta attack the outside. The weapons are there. Will Howard was dynamite against Tennessee. He's really been great all year long. A couple turnovers here and there, and I think also he has to play clean football and no turnovers. Can't have a fumble, that bounces out of bounds and the turnover. Can't throw a pick in the red zone. Stuff like that, like the things that you just can't have them, right? And the running game has got to be a factor. I agree with you there. I think Will Howard's going to get involved in the running game in this game as well. I wouldn't be shocked if they run him more than you would think, just keep the defenses on their toes as possible. And I think you got to give Trey as many carries as you can. Travion was so electric against Tennessee. He just has that extra gear. Now, don't get me wrong. Quinshawn is a great back, but Trey's just got that extra gear out there on the football field that when he hits that open space, forget it, man. No one's catching him. So I think you got to get Trey involved early. Just let the offense do their thing. You're going to be playing out in California. Weather's not going to be a factor. You just got to go out there and ball.
Yep. Yeah, man. It's gonna be a fun game for sure. All right, the last thing we have to do. Hopefully we get to pick many more games before the Buckeye season ends. Ohio State is 2.5-point favorites in this game. Again, Rose Bowl in Pasadena, 5:00 kickoff. It's going to be a fantastic game. What is your score prediction, and do you think the Buckeyes cover the spread?
I think they cover big. I think the Buckeye offense continues to build on what they did last week against Tennessee. I think Ohio State wins. I'm going to say 45-24. I think we win handedly.
Wow.
And I think we come out pissed off again. We smack Dylan Gabriel in the mouth early and often. I hope I don't sound like an idiot, but yeah, I think 45-24, Ohio State rolls on to the semifinal.
Okay. I like that. I do agree. I think we're going to cover. I don't think we're going to put up that many points. We will cover, though, because I do think Ohio State wins this game. I think the defense is going to shut down Oregon a little bit. I do think Jim Knowles is going to get creative in this game. You have to, especially after that first meeting. You can't let him sit back there and pick you apart, first and foremost. So 2.5 points. I got Ohio State. I think I got them 38. Man, this is tough, actually. 38-31. 38-31. I think Ohio State's got this. There might be moments where they lead a little bit more. I expect Oregon to come out firing away. That's what they did in the first matchup. I expect it to happen in this game too. But I expect Chip Kelly to be the Chip Kelly we saw against Tennessee and really have some things dialed up. I'm expecting Will Howard to continue to play well. But again, overall, I'm expecting a Buckeye victory, and I'm expecting a semifinals appearance. I think
I hope so.
This team is good enough. This team is good enough, man. We've talked about it ad nauseum. If you win this game, you don't want to. You can't count your eggs before they hatch. But you win this game, sitting pretty, moving forward. So we'll see what happens, man. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Just go win. Just go win, man. This is the granddaddy of them all. I know the Ohio State faithful is going to travel well out to Pasadena. They always do. So, yeah, man, just go out there and win.
Yep. As the great Al Davis would say, win, baby. Well, thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the Scarlet and Gray podcast. Again, thank you guys so much for your support throughout 2024. Like I said, the reason this channel has grown and our show has grown is because of you guys. We can't thank you enough for the support. It's been a fantastic year. Let's make 2025 even better. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you're brand new to the channel. The show will be available as well on all audio platforms. Give us a 5-star review over there if you listen on audio. But again, thank you guys so much. We will talk to you guys all again soon. And as always, oh, Buckeye.